watching famous Dave on YouTube.
And happy Saturday morning. That's actually when I'm filming this. I'm not quite sure when you're watching it. However, we have come out of GameStop earnings, and somewhat predictably, they missed. Revenue was, I guess, a little bit better than expected, but the actual earnings, they missed. It was over $2 loss as opposed to, I think, a $1.48 loss was the predicted. And somewhat predictably, they rallied coming out of earnings. That's what happened last time as well. And this just, to me, now, let me just put all the disclaimers in here. This is like my opinion, dude. And, you might think differently. However, I'm here to state my take on things. And if you want to state your take, you can make a video yourself, or you can argue in the comments. But my take on this whole thing is just that this GameStop stock has just, it's divorced from the company and reality. It's become this idea in people's minds, in new traders' minds, of here is something that I can make money on that's going to go up. If we all get behind it, it's going to go up, and we'll be able to make money because we like the idea of this company. And the reality of the situation is that companies are business entities that need to make money to survive, and that earnings matter. If you're making or losing money matters. If you meet expectations or not in the financial numbers matters. But in this case, people just kind of seem to see this as, well, I have a list of possible things to buy, and I'm going to pick this one because today when I see several stocks down, I see Tesla down $50, I see these other ones down. Oh, wow, look, GameStop is up $1 when everything else is down. So why don't I go there and see if I can make a quick buck today? And this kind of sort of thought process has been dominating the landscape with this. And the group of people who come in and say, I can maybe make some money on this, have overwhelmed those who come in and want to sell it. And thus, the stock has moved higher on bad news and has continued to do so. Now, this is not the kind of huge moves up that we saw last February. The highest this was up was a couple bucks on Friday. And let's take a quick look at the chart here as I talk to you. And but still, it is well off the lows. We got down to the mid-70s a few weeks ago. Let's go to the, I'm first going to go to the daily chart here, and then we will back that out a little bit. All right, so here's the daily chart. You can see the high was 138, and then it kind of, and this was on the back of someone buying about 100,000 shares. So you can see the rip up came, the real rip up came right here. And if you look at the chart, you can isolate that moment, and then you can see, I'm trying to back this out so it's easily visible here. If you highlight right on this bar here and you look at the top, it says right there 80,000 shares in 1 minute. So this rip was one of the bigger rips of the day that propelled this stock from 132 to 138. And then it immediately backed off, but then it built back all the way up there again. It didn't take out the high, but it built up all the way there again. And this, once again, on bad news. Now, if we go back and we look at the earnings before this, this was a more even exaggerated situation. Here's the earnings before that. It was down around 75, and you see in the next basically week, we more than doubled in price, right? Pretty much almost tripled in price right here, before kind of giving it all back, right? So this time we have earnings and a similar kind of dynamic here, but less, right? It's not as exaggerated. And that's kind of a theme here that I kind of want to point out, is that this everybody jumping in and we're going to make this go higher, it kind of seems to be working less and less here. And the reason for that is the fundamentals. Now, what does fundamentals mean? Fundamentals are the underlying it's the underlying situation behind a stock. So, for example, what does the company do? What industry is it in? How many employees does it have? What does it make? What buildings does it own? What does it have in the works? This sort of thing are the fundamentals of a company. And it appears to me that a lot of people that are trading or investing in this are kind of the calculation is not based on fundamentals here. The calculation is based on excitement over this issue and this whole mentality that comes along with it's come to us basically through crypto, right? HODL, we're going to hold, and those who are selling are the enemy. Boom and bust. It's almost a given that people these days, when they buy a crypto, it's almost a given that most of them are quote unquote not going to work, and there's going to be a rug pull, right? So it's not shocking to anybody when these financial instruments rally and then give it all back. It's almost expected in most cases, but it seems to be in people's minds that they'll take a chance and see if this one is going to be the one. Now, if you follow the Reddit or the StockTwits or other social media, you see less of this, the statement of the mother of all short squeezes, the MOAS. You see a little bit less and less of that as time goes by, because the reality is we haven't made new highs from last January. Last January we got up to, I believe, 438, and we haven't gotten anywhere near that again. And the media plays into this, of course, and there is a certain aspect of the media, a certain group of people in the media who have tried to, it's the whole thing of trying to get clicks. They've tried to cater to these people who believe that this is going to go higher, even though the fundamentals really aren't there. Yes, the company has ideas about stuff they want to do in the future. Yes, they want to transform into a different company, but the plan hasn't really been laid out very clearly for that, and we haven't seen a whole lot of evidence of that having happened. Yes, we've seen them hire programmers in the NFT space. Meanwhile, of course, the NFT marketplace has pretty much fallen apart recently. There's recent articles about the most valuable NFTs going way down in value recently. And, once again, this is just my opinion, but I think NFTs are ridiculous. Why do I want to spend a bunch of money for a receipt for an image when I could just copy the image anyway? Just because I know in my mind that I have the receipt for it, is that really worth several $1,000s to me? I don't have enough money for that to be worthwhile to me. And I think that we have the analogy of the Wizard of Oz, where in the movie The Wizard of Oz, you see this great wizard on the screen, and he's huge and powerful, and then you see on the off to the side, Toto the dog pulls back the curtain, and it's this guy creating the illusion, turning on these lights back and forth and yelling and screaming, and then he pulls the curtain back. and it says, "Pay no attention to that guy in the corner." Well, this is kind of what I see of NFTs, and so if that's this company's a major aspect of this company's plan moving forward, it's smoke and mirrors. And we see that this, mother of all rallies and let's all jump on board and get this to move higher, it seems to be working less and less. However, there are still people out there who will try to cater to this group of people. And for example, I found this article here, which is sort of what inspired this video. So let's take a look quickly at this article here. And this is in the feed for Thinkorswim. Now, if you don't have Thinkorswim, I would highly recommend it because A, it's free, and B, it's got some excellent charting. The news feed here, though, is, as far as I'm concerned, garbage. So much stuff in here is just, I don't know if it's intentionally misleading, but the end result is misleading. So anyway, here's an article from the second. Is GameStop stock headed towards 200? The chart says yes, and here's why. And this is meant to fire up the quote-unquote base. Now, I'm almost using political language here. It kind of reminds you of like the fake news Trump era, where everything is called fake news as fake news is put up. Now, this is not something that's unique to the Republican Party, and I'm not getting political here. It happens on both sides of the aisle. Anyway, so let's take a look at this article real quick. On Wednesday, GameStop printed mixed first quarter financial results. The company beat on its top line figure with revenues of $1.38 billion compared to the consensus of $1.32 billion, but reported a loss of $2.08 per share versus $1.45 per share. So they're losing money. They might have sold more stuff, a little more stuff than expected, but they're still losing money, which is the bottom line, is they're losing money. The bull flag pattern is created with a sharp rise, forming the pull, which is then followed by a consolidation pattern that brings the stock lower between a channel with parallel lines or into a tightening triangular platform. And I think they're going to graphically illustrate this here. And let's see if we can get this so it fits within the screen here. So essentially saying that, it made this big spike up and it still is not near the lows. And so that's a bullish sign in the chart. But this is basically, once again, divorced from reality because we're not taking into account what is this company? What is the company doing? What are the company's prospects? It's just taking into account what the stock did over a short period of time. And it's aimed at the people who own this. That's what most people that read these articles are long the stocks, and the writers know that, and so they're going to cater to people who are long the stock. And you see a lot of articles also, or a lot of people online saying stuff about how there's fake short shares and there's this short interest, and that this idea that anybody who's short the stock has to cover by a certain date or else, and just all this hype. But meanwhile, the company hasn't turned around, right? The earnings keep missing. They haven't come out with a plan. There hasn't been signs of stuff moving higher. And we see these rallies based on the fact that the CEO bought 100,000 shares. And if you think that that's not a calculation on his part, and then I think you're missing the point here. Question what's going on. It seems the guy buys 100,000 shares and every single person jumps on board, looking for this to move higher based on what, though? If a company is going to move higher, it has to actually start making money at some point, right? So that's kind of where we are. Yes, a video came out mocking meme stock traders by the SEC. people saying, "Oh, you shouldn't buy meme stocks," and I'm sort of I come down on the side of the Redditors on this particular situation because if you're making money trading something, who cares who mocks you, right? They can mock you and say, "Oh, that's crazy that you bought that." But if you find a strategy that makes you money, then God bless you. Who cares who mocks you? But in this particular case, GameStop is running its course, and it is going to become older and older news. And the company has not turned around. It's been a year now, and these rallies are getting less and less extreme. I saw people cheering at the close on Friday. The stock ended up down 30 cents, and people were cheering as if it was up $100. And it just feels like it doesn't have that much more to go to the upside, because it's going to be a long time before something happens to turn this around, if ever. And people are cheering. They announced a few months ago that they would create more shares with the intention of splitting the stock and using the shares for other purposes like corporate compensation, executive compensation, this sort of thing. And adding more shares is not bullish or bearish on the face at all. It's just dividing stuff up, right? And in fact, it would seem to be more of a way to dilute things, right? If you have, which is more rare, something that has 10 shares available or something that has 1 million shares available? Of course, the one with 10 shares is more rare, right? So adding shares is not something that you should be like, oh wow, they added shares, I'm going to go buy some right now because that's great. That is kind of an upside down way of looking at things. And it's funny, new traders think that this time it's different. This is a new situation and everything's different. And people that are traded before don't understand this because it's a new world now and everything's different. When the reality is that anything that happens to you in the stock market has happened before, right? And will happen again. There's not unique situations in the stock market. It all has happened before many times. And if you fall into the idea that A, it's a unique situation, and B, you're unique and what happens to you is going to be different than what's happened to everyone else, you're really taking a big risk there, because the likelihood that something is completely new is very, very low. Anyway, those are my thoughts on this back to 200. And the question, can GameStop go to 200 again? The answer, of course it can. There's nothing stopping it, right? The market's there. If enough people buy it, it can go to 200. The likelihood that it does, very low in my opinion. So there you have it. Thanks for checking this out, and I will see you in the next one. Bye now.